live. I'm loving this music. Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Off Season, presented by Sam's Club. I'm Zena.
And I'm Lasia Clarendon.
And the sun is shining on my face right now because
Yes.
we are live on Selection Sunday. March Madness is upon us, baby. It's finally here. The brackets are out. Tournament picture is set. And we got plenty to break down tonight, so we got to get into it. We got Sabreena and Chantel that will be joining us a little later. Once their written pieces are up on the site, we have to serve the public first. And then once Chantel's official bracket picks are locked in, she'll be able to join us as well. Our resident bracketologist, Eden Lossy, will be stopping by to, help us make sense of everything. I know there was someone that was on the ESPN selection show that helped break things down from the committee, but Eden, she's been doing this work for us all season, getting ready for this moment all season long. And so I'm very excited to hear her thoughts on how the selection committee actually played out and solidified that final bracket. Lasia, first and foremost, hold up. This is your first time on No Off Season. Welcome. How excited? I'm excited. I'm pumped.
I'm very excited. Let's do it. We're always talking about how we're always doing this behind the scenes in the green room with the Valkyries, and now we're in pod. We're good.
Yes, that is important to know. For those of you that don't know, Lasia and I out in the Bay covered the Valkyries together as analysts last season, and it was so fun. Not only because the Valkyries were phenomenal, but it was just fun, one, for me to learn from a pro, 11 years in the WNBA, knows the game inside and out, does a lot of X's and O's. You've been doing some really cool unrivaled stuff in the meanwhile, and we were like, hold on, we're going to pull you in, especially as March Madness gets going, and WNBA season is hopefully, fingers crossed, right around the corner.
My broadcast bed, I got thrown in the fire, and I'm like, I don't even
know. I know. So first, I do want to make sure we say hello to all of y'all in the chat, everyone watching. Thank you so much for tuning into our live stream. We are very excited for this. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Just off the top, Lasia, the bracket's officially out. We've got UConn as the #1 overall seed, followed by UCLA, then Texas, and then South Carolina. So thinking about these top seeds, we know there was a battle back and forth. Who should be the top seed? Is it UCLA? Is it UConn? Et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Where did you land on all of this? What stood out to you when the bracket was revealed?
Oh, #1 thing that stood out to me was, I agree, UConn #1 overall seed. That's fine. They're great. They're the most balanced team. They're dominant. If you take one player off that team, they're still pretty freaking good, right? And versus UCLA's good and solid, but you take Lauren Betts off that team, it's a different story, right? So UConn #1. But my second point was, does the committee not like UCLA? Because I think they have the hardest road. So for them to be arguing one seed and then get in the Sacramento region and have to go through Duke potentially or LSU, to me that was like, almost like they got punished for the #1 seed. That was
it does. I mean, I'm looking at UConn side, and I mean they got Vanderbilt to meet up with, potentially Ohio State, and not quite the same as a Duke or LSU, but still,
Duke's defense, how good Duke can be.
Yeah, I know.
And then LSU, they're gamers, right? LSU is not a team I want to see. I don't care how well they've played throughout the year, good or not, peaking not. I don't want no part of them if I'm on the other end in a tournament game when you got Page and you got Kim wearing God knows what, doing Kim things, right? She knows how to win. She knows how to coach. She knows how to motivate. And so
agreed.
That to me was I think UCLA has the toughest road. I think South Carolina has the potentially easiest road to get to the Final Four. And
that's what I was going to say.
Losing to Texas actually helped them, right? And yes, they have to travel out west to Sacramento, right? But if they win, they go right on to Arizona. So they're actually making their way west. But for them, that loss actually was beneficial, I think, to have to kind of get bumped down. And then potentially that chip on the shoulder. I don't want it South Carolina with the chip on the shoulder. People don't need those problems.
What they do. They create chips on their shoulders. They're very much, there's this essence of we're talking about the WNBA in a sense that you've covered them for so long, but the same vibe that you felt for the Las Vegas Aces coming back and winning that championship, where they almost create this chip on their shoulders. South Carolina has a very, very similar vibe to them. And I agree with you. I'm looking at that Fort Worth. Yes, it's Fort Worth. We have a typo on the site. We're going to fix that. But Fort Worth 4 section, I was the only one that I'm like, could really be a threat because we know that Oklahoma beat South Carolina in that overtime game. Double overtime game. It was crazy. Aaliyah Chavez hit that shot, but that was an out of character game for South Carolina. They definitely want their revenge and that opportunity to get that lick back. So I'm looking at that Fort Worth 4 and I'm like, it's looking pretty simple for them. But I don't know.
TCU nothing to sleep on in Iowa either. I think TCU.
TCU and Iowa, yeah. But I still don't think anyone's got the. There's no one in that bracket to me that has the same level of resolve that South Carolina has, but also the experience. We cannot deny that being able to have been in these positions, being in Final Fours, being able to consistently get back to levels of excellence within the tournament year after year after year, and having Don Staley as a coach, like it's just really hard to bet against Don Staley ever. So that Fort Worth 4 looks pretty simple. The Texas, and also the fact that, as you mentioned, they're going to stay out west. They're going to go to South Carolina. I know that sucks, sure, but it is easier to, once you get to that 3-hour, whatever it is, for them, it's going to be
they get to be going backwards.
Right? They get to adjust, exactly, and that will be fine.
Get this beautiful California weather.
Right. I actually think the Fort Worth, Texas situation, Fort Worth 3, I personally think their road might be a little easier. Even though Michigan is incredibly tough, they're incredibly solid. We know those 3 sophomores that have been leading the way for them all year. Olivia Olson has been killing it, especially as towards the end of the season. I feel like between Michigan and Louisville, Texas feels pretty solid, in my opinion, in comparison to those. So I would say, I know some folks, even in our chat, are saying that South Carolina might have the easiest road. I see Zigzag Zara said that, as well as I saw the Jamama 61 GG also with the Gamecock emojis got an easy road. But I'm looking at Texas and I'm like, don't sleep on them. I really do feel like that might be an easy road as well. Either way, it seems like UCLA and UConn will have to work for theirs. That's in comparison to Texas and South Carolina. But let's I want to take a step back really, really, really quickly. And we're going to get into seedings and we're going to get into particular matchups. But before we even get into that, I want to talk to you, Lay. You got to take us into the mindset of all the young women that we just saw on the Selection Sunday. So hype with their teammates. They're still playing in March. This was not dancing. Okay. They're still dancing in March. This was not my experience. Okay. The music was cut off pretty early in my college experience. Okay. I ain't got no shade in it. I got no shade. By the way, y'all, I am pretty sure that Lay's team like whooped on Yale my freshman year. I'm pretty certain of it. We went out to UCLA. No, not UCLA. We went out to California. We played UC Davis and we played UC Berkeley. And we got, and if y'all don't know that UC Davis has like a well-known like fake pick situation thing that they run.
Back cut the F out of you, yeah.
Yes, they'll backdoor. It's a thing, guys. It's like a play. We literally
there's like nightmares about having to guard their system.
Correct. Their system is a thing. So we played UC Davis, we played Berkeley, and Lay lit one up against us at Yale years ago. But you've been to the tournament. You've been in these women's seats. What is it like to prepare for the big dance and get to hear who your matchup is going to be?
Oh, I mean, there's a couple different rounds. There's one, the teams who know they're going to make it, right? You could see in some of the reactions, some of the teams were like, we've been here, we expect your other teams to right? Like, I thought it's interesting to watch all the reactions having been there. We didn't make it my first 2 years. We did the NIT 1 year, second year, we had more like. Then my junior and senior year, we made it, went on to play Notre Dame in South Bend. And then my senior year, we go into the Final Four through the Spokane region. But so my senior year, this is why I think this South Carolina storyline is so interesting, because we lost. We were the number 2 seed in the country at the time, the highest ranking Cal's like ever been. It was like,
wow.
I never even imagined us being like that good. We're number 2 in the country, and we lose in the Pac-12 tournament to UCLA. I think it was the semis. And we're like, dang, that's like gut punching. We're supposed to win the title. We won the regular season, but it helped us for our region, actually. So we ended up being a 2 seed overall, and we ended up being in the Spokane region with Stanford because the committee loves storylines. So we're like, So we're like, all right, yeah, Georgia's in there, LSU's in there. We had like a pretty tough road. And so we're kind of already looking ahead a bit, but also kind of having a reflection of the fact that we do sometimes those late in the season losses help you. They do benefit you, and it hurt at the time, but it really helped us in the long run and end up having that road to the Final Four. Georgia ends up beating Stanford, so we don't even face Stanford. We played Georgia in the semis. We had to get through LSU. So the anticipation, the sitting there waiting, we knew we were going to dance, and that was such a nice feeling from like earlier years in my college career where we were just like, sitting at home when everyone's dancing in March. Like, that's what you do it for. Like, you're not doing it to lose. Like, you want to win. You want to dance. This is the epitome. And that's partly what I love it for these younger teams or these mid-major teams who, right, the only way they get in is they have to win their conference tournaments. And then they get this opportunity to have this magical experience. So it was beautiful. It was fun. And then there's so much pressure once you do get there because it's one and done. Like, you lose and you're going home. Like,
there's so much pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every
okay.
Matters.
I love. I'm already sweating. This is amazing. We've just gotten started on our live stream. Shout out to all of you joining us on Selection Sunday, presented by Sam's Club. We are about to start getting into the nitty-gritty of this bracket. We've got Eden Lossy, our bracketology expert, coming up right after this break. In the meanwhile, if you are in the chat, drop us some questions. We want to be able to get some of your questions answered. I see some already sprinkling in, but make sure you drop those because later on, Eden's going to be with us, Sabrina's going to be joining us, and Chantel is going to be joining us. But as someone said in the chat, and I love this, they got to do their homework first. All right, we'll be right back after this break. It's finally March, and you know what that means. Bracket season, baby. Picture it. You're hosting the big tourney game. You've got your jersey, you're looking good, and now all you need is, well, everything else to host. No sweat, though, because you're a Sam's Club member. In one trip, you say yes to grabbing everything you need and to getting it all for unbelievably low prices. Plates, cups, tables, chairs, pizza, wings, snacks, sweets, and the ultimate three-pointer, a big screen TV. Heck, you could even get it delivered. That's because the play that Sam's Club runs is called Yes and. It means getting just what you need and enjoying the perks that come with membership, like express delivery. Bonus points. So even if you don't win your bracket, you'll win Best Host. Join Sam's Club, the club of yes and. On eligible items. Terms and fees apply. See samsclub.com/yes-and for details. Yes, and we've got Eden Lossy now joining us, our resident bracketologist. Eden, how are you feeling? The work that you have been building up to for so long is now out there. The selection committee has made their selections, and I want to know, how are you feeling right now?
I'm thrilled. All day I've been saying, 10 hours till the bracket, 5 hours till the bracket, and now we finally have it, and I'm really excited to get into it with you guys.
Yay. Okay, so I'm dying to get your reactions to the bracket, and I want to kind of step back for a bit, though, for some of the listeners that might not be as familiar with March Madness as a whole, and what's about to play out for the next few weeks. So for those of you who aren't as familiar, let's walk our listeners through how the tournament works. Eden, can you lay out the field for us?
Absolutely. So first, we're going to do the first four. So those are going to be when we were doing our bubble watch, and we talked about the last 4 teams in. 2 of those teams will play in the first 4, and then 2 16 seeds as well. And then, 2 matchups will be those last 4 in, and then the others will be 16 seeds. And then we move on to the rest of the field. And of course, in women's basketball, we know the top 16 teams host. So that was announced on Saturday. So none of those teams should have been a surprise other than perhaps the order that they came in. And then after that, we're just kind of getting into it.
Okay, so here's something that I have always, I get it, but it bothers me about it. And I'm sure some of you might be listening and might be thinking about this. The last 4 in always feels like it should be the last 4 in, AKA you barely were almost there. It always feels weird to think that there are people that are going to be matching up for this. In this case, this year, it's going to be Virginia, Arizona, and Fort Worth 4, and Nebraska and Richmond and Sacramento 2. These 4 teams were really good all year. Why are they in the last 4 in? How does that work where it's not everyone's battling for a 16th seed?
Yeah, so the reason that happens is because, of course, we have the teams on the bubble, and those are often going to be, Power Four teams. We do have some mid-majors in there as well that maybe didn't have as good of a record, or they lost some games they shouldn't have, or they upset a couple teams and it was surprising. Those 16 seeds and most of those lower seeds are going to be reserved for teams that won their conferences, right? So, ideally you will want the number one seeds to be playing the worst team that they'll play in the tournament in the first round. That's not necessarily the case all the time. Of course, we have had one lovely 16 seed over a one upset in the past. Shout out to one of your
baby.
Harvard over
They can never live that down.
So because of that, right, we don't want to see, let's say, one of our last teams in Nebraska. We don't want to see Nebraska matching up with the number one seed in the first round, because that kind of ruins the point of that number one seed, earning that spot and getting a chance to play one of those lower seed teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And it feels like with the automatic bids, like you're going to have those already slotted in. And that's why if Nebraska and Richmond, Virginia, Arizona State not winning their conferences tournaments outright, they forfeit that automatic bid, and now they are on the bubble, as you mentioned. So those 4 games, those first 4, they're the last 4 in, but they're called the first 4. I know it is confusing, but
right. They're like 8.
Yes, and they're 8 technically, but yeah. So the first 4 begins on March 18th through the 19th, those games, and then the first and second rounds will be beginning on March 20th to the 23rd, and then it just keeps going week by week. Final 4 will take place in Phoenix starting April 3rd, Friday. We will be there. I'm so excited, with the championship game on April 5th. Let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of all of this. First and foremost, Eden, Leja laid out like what stood out to them about the tournament, and just looking at who got that number 1 overall seed. You were on the same page. UConn, I think we're all on the same page. UConn deserved it. This observable component was a major factor. Just the eye test, etc. With your observable component of this entire bracket, what stood out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a few things that stand out to me. One is that we have observed those top 4 teams being the top 4 teams pretty much all season. Vanderbilt kind of jumped in a little bit there, but overall it was UConn, UCLA, Texas, and South Carolina all season. So that was big. And then another thing that has really stood out to me as well, with a couple of these first round matchups, I find really interesting. I think the Fairfield Notre Dame matchup could be interesting, just given that Fairfield is an experienced team that can shoot the ball really well. If you get hot in March, it's easy to advance. And then Notre Dame, of course, as we know, goes where Hannah Hidalgo goes. So if she has an off game, Fairfield finds a way to shut her down. Again, it's a one-loss situation, right? And so if you're the lower seed who should win, you're in there and you should win, and you're going to tighten up a little bit if you're playing close. Yeah. So that one is interesting to me. The same with a potential Richmond and Baylor matchup, or Nebraska and Baylor matchup. And this is a case where I think that playing in those first 4 could help Nebraska and Richmond kind of get their feet under them. You win a game, you feel good, you go up against a Baylor team. Both Nebraska and Richmond are really talented. I did say that I wasn't sure Nebraska could get in. That doesn't mean I don't think they're good. This is a good team. They just played in a really good conference, so they had a rough time of it. And then Richmond, of course, we have Maggie Dugan, who we saw go absolutely crazy last year. She was one of the best players on the floor against UCLA. Yes. They ended up losing, of course, but she was incredible. So that's a player that would be a mismatch. So I love those 2 first-round matchups. I'm so excited. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like buzzing right now.
I'm curious to think about the that NC State Tennessee matchup, and then the potential to meet Louisville right away, like that ACC second round. That to me was spicy in that region. I was like,
No, that is really exciting. And I think Tennessee is a team that a lot of people will be interested to see how they do, right? They had an absolute slide at the end of the year here. But again, Tennessee is a team that has a lot of talent. So if they can put the pieces together, and I think they'll be feeling good about that matchup. This is a team they know they can beat. And then, like I said, you get a first round win, suddenly you're feeling pretty good going forward.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. You think Louisville can beat Texas, make it to the Final Four. That's my hot take of potential not. Oh, she hit the nose. Yes, potentially not Texas not making it to the Final Four. Like Louisville's. You answer first, and I'm gonna give you my hot tea.
Yes, I would love to hear from you because obviously, you're the player in this situation, so you probably have a better idea. But for me, do I think it could happen? Yes. Do I think it will happen? No. I think I've been really impressed with Texas, and I think the thing that really makes Texas stand out this year compared to how they played last year is that sophomore class. I love Jordan Lee. I think she's absolutely the X factor for this team.
Yes.
She's a big change factor.
Has been unbelievable as well. She's such a mismatch in a way that I don't know that a lot of teams have somebody that can guard her if she's playing really well. And then I think Bree Preston could be huge too off the bench as that backup point guard. So I don't know, but I would love to hear what you have to say because I've also been really impressed with Louisville. I think Barry is on her way to being a breakout star. She's, I think, one of the best guards that people don't know about. I'm excited to kind of see what she gets up to. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I think Texas has found some offense this year, and that's been the big question of I love defense, but at the end of the day, teams are too talented. You got to be able to score the basketball to win in a Final Four to win a national championship. So I agree with you with things they've added. They're much more consistent offensively. But I mean, I love a hot take, so I'm not afraid to be wrong. So I'm let me have a bracket. And I like Louisville one for their experience, right? We've talked about that somewhat earlier in the pod is experience. So Jeff Walz knows how to coach in big moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how balanced their squad is. The problem with them that I do find is not having one star to take the shot, right? They're so balanced sometimes. It is Taj Roberts, but is she quite ready to is she an A-list, put her name next to every big player? I want to take that shot in big moments. I'm not exactly sure, right? Laura Ziegler's really good. They defend the three really well. They space the floor really well. They're one of the best benches in the country, and that's their strength and can be the strength for that second unit is really, to your point, Barry, that squad. They basically have folks who are starters who they come off the bench in order to have that 7-8 man consistent rotation, and that's why I really like them, and they're dangerous, and they're a program who's had excellence throughout years, and so I think in that way I'm I don't sleep on Louisville. I would not be surprised if they really make a return.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. Can I tell you one potential upset that I have?
Yes.
That I think would be an interesting game. So in the second round, we could potentially get Washington and TCU. And I find that to be a very interesting one. And the reason being is there have been games this season where TCU just has not looked like their chemistry is there. I think one of the issues they tend to have is Olivia Miles is so good. Let's just let Olivia Miles do her thing. And then everyone else is kind of standing around. I do think they're very talented. And if they play well, they could go really deep. But Washington has some really good guards.
Savia Sellers,
Avery Howell. So I think this one would come down to who could dominate the paint. And I find that to be a very interesting matchup.
Okay, so question, is this the easiest region to get to the Final Four? I argued South Carolina has the easiest road to get to the Final Four. And that makes me question it because you're basically throwing some shade at TCU. Not shade.
Yeah.
But.
No, yeah, I think they probably do have the easiest path.
Okay.
Just looking at it, again, everything's nuts, so we never really know what's actually going to go down, but just based on what I'm looking at, although, yeah, I definitely think that is true because UCLA has some really tough people in there. The committee seems to be obsessed with UCLA, LSU playing each other. I think this would be the third year.
That's what I said. Is UCLA, did this committee not like UCLA? Because they don't get the number one overall seed. Then they get the toughest road. How are you the second?
They like storylines, Leisha. You know that. They like the drama. Speaking of the drama, I do want to get into some snubs, some surprises. And I see a comment, Zigzag Zara asks, what do you think tipped the scale for the committee to put Duke as number 3 instead of number 2? This feels like it could be a little bit of a snub. Duke cleaned up their act at the end of the season. That final game going into or winning the regular season outright against UNC, being able to win the tournament, they feel like they should have been a number 2, particularly for what have you done for me lately, that recency bias the selection committee seems to have. They feel like they put on a performance for that. Did you feel like that was a snub or that was right? And in putting them at number 3, LSU deserved that number 2?
Yeah, I do think I had them as a 2 seed, Duke as a 2 seed. I also had LSU as a 2. The team that I didn't have was Michigan. I had them as a 3. So that was interesting to me. But I think what this is a case of the committee recognizing that the SEC and the Big Ten are stronger than the ACC was this year. Duke played really great down the stretch, but I just think when you look at the teams that, the SEC teams and the Big Ten teams have to play day in and day out, I just think that they were challenged a little bit more, and I think that the committee tends to value that. So I think that's probably why they got in as a 3 instead of a 2.
So that actually leads perfectly into Elena Axon 8036, who said, why on earth was Michigan seated over Iowa? As a Michigan fan, LOL. So even Elena's like, hold up. I know my team was good, but not that good. How do we feel about that for Iowa?
Well, look, I think, unfortunately for Iowa, their last game was a 51-point loss, and that's going to be in the back.
That's not fair, though.
It's not, but that's how it goes, right? It's not fair, but that's the reality. And I think another thing that really helped Michigan is, Michigan played the top 2 teams. So they played UConn and UCLA to 3 points, both of those games. And when we were talking about, the committee was on the, selection show speaking about how that, visual component was really huge to them when picking UConn over UCLA. So if that's so major in that regard, it's going to be major down the line. And we've seen Michigan as a team that can really compete with top teams. So I think that combined with the kind of bitter taste of that loss, as unfair as it is probably what got them seated higher than Iowa.
Okay. Was there anyone else?
Of how do you match up against UConn?
Basically, they've earned that kind of respect that is going to be something that people are talking about. That game happened so early in the season, and I've spent all year talking about it. So, obviously, a lot of people are going to put weight into that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I'm looking at my bracket. And by the way, guys, my bracket is on my iPad down here. So if you see me looking down, it's not because I'm not entertained by the drama of all of March Madness, but I'm just looking, and I'm curious if you thought that there were any surprises in terms of those closer matchups. We've already talked about the NC State Tennessee matchup. That's going to be, I personally think, incredibly interesting. That South Dakota State Washington matchup. South Dakota State is a team that, I would say Sabreena put me on a little bit more and just in terms of them being a team that could make it through the first round, could be an upset type of team. Rhode Island as well, being one of those as well. Are there any teams that you're interested about potential upsets or potential surprises in that regard?
Yeah, I think we have pretty much the 3 best mid-major teams. When you talk about mid-major royalty, to me, South Dakota State, Princeton, Green Bay have been in there for years.
Yeah.
So these are teams that know what it takes. We've seen Princeton win games in this tournament. They also have a really good first-round matchup that I think plays really well for them against Oklahoma State. And then, South Dakota State, again, they're very experienced. Brooklyn Meyer, their center, is one of the best players, not just mid-major players, but one of the best players in the country. I remember years ago when she was a freshman, she's a senior now, but she played incredibly in one of her first games of her career against South Carolina. So that's the kind of player that she is. She was ready from the jump, so she's not going to be afraid of anyone. So I think that's a really great matchup as well. And then, again, anyone who's going to be playing Green Bay is going to be having a team that knows how to win. They've been to an insane amount of tournaments, like I said, mid-major royalty. So those
and they have a lot of seniors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And experience does matter, right? Like I said, it's a one-loss situation. So if you get people that start getting nervous out there, those mistakes can compound.
Where would you rank experience in the scale of, I guess, talent, experience, coaching, system?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an annoying answer, but I do think it kind of depends. I think if we're in a late game situation and it's a really close matchup, I think that experience is probably going to be towards the top. Just because, nothing really to lose, especially for those, mid-major teams that aren't supposed to win their games. And if they have more experience, ultimately, I do think the overall talent is going to be the number one. And then, coaching, if you can out-scheme somebody, you're in good shape.
All right, Ian, we're gonna wrap up with you. We got Sabreena coming in soon, but what are your last thoughts before you get into the dancing of March Madness from this side of the bracket? Not on the court, but from this side. Any last thoughts before you go?
My last thoughts are just that I'm really excited. I think we've got a great bracket here. I think overall the seeding is kind of what I expected it to be, and I'm just excited to get started. But first, I'm excited to hear what Sabreena has to say.
Oh yeah, same. I think we all are. There's people in the chat like, "Where's Sabreena and Chantel at?" Oh yeah,
we got to get on out of here. So
no, you're good. You're good. I do want to ask you before you leave. Yeah. Final two. What are you predicting?
I think it's been a crash course all year. I don't think it'll surprise anyone to hear me say UCLA, UConn.
Yeah. It does sound like it might be that. It will be very surprising if it isn't. But it's not surprising. Eden Lassie doing her job all year for us and getting us prepared for this bracket to come out. Thank you so much, Eden, and appreciate you. We'll have you back on throughout the tournament, but super excited. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
all right, y'all. We're going to Of course, y'all, we're going to take a quick break, and Sabrina's going to join us really quickly. Don't go anywhere, guys. Oh, there she is.
Wow.
The magic of live stream. Oh, she can't hear us just yet. Okay, so we're going to pause here. By the way, we're going to let Sabreena jump off and figure out sound really quickly. And then, in the meanwhile, we're going to just look at our chat really quick to see what folks are saying. And I actually want to take this question really quickly from Jemama61GG. What do you think it's going to take to beat UConn? Leja? Friend?
It's
a great question. The only team that made it feel like it could be possible was Tennessee. And that when they were up at the half, I can't remember what day it was that they played earlier this season. UConn stormed back in the second half, and it really was Tennessee speeding UConn up. And I think for any team that is as dominant and as elite as UConn is, and as solid in all these positions, whether it's their point of attack, whether it's their size inside, between AZ Flood and Sarah Strong, obviously being the two anchors of that team, but then everyone around them being KK Arnold, Ashley Shade, like there's so much size. And then don't get me started on Blanca Quinones coming in, helping things out, but Sarah Williams, like all the bigs that are available on this team as well. The only thing that feels like you have to focus on is trying to get them out of character.
Yes.
Getting them to speed up, to do things in a manner that they're not used to. And the thing is that UConn is so good at dictating the pace, dictating the tempo, dictating the physicality, dictating everything. And so I feel like that's the only thing that you can anticipate is if you try to beat UConn, you have had to have done something that makes them look unlike themselves or feel unlike themselves. What are your thoughts?
I mean, you nailed it. I think getting them off kilter is something. And then if you do, the problem is they're also very well coached. So, right, like they have the ability to adjust in the moment. So you see some of these coaches or these moments where you have game plan A, right? You come out, you're prepared, but then how do you adjust? And Gino is one of the best at X's and O's and adjusting throughout his career, throughout halftime, right? Like I was thinking I was working studio at that Tennessee game and I was like, oh, they're up. Oh, wait, it's tied. Oh my God, how are they down? Right. Segment, and we came back and I was like, how is the span that big? And it's because they're disciplined, they're talented, they're well coached, they have great scouting. So the problem with the physicality is they normally bring the physicality to you, but we saw what Tennessee does, right? Like their ability to speed you up. So do you have a team? Is there a team that's good enough to sustain that level of effort? Because they also play extremely hard. If they're demanded to play hard, even when they're up 25, they should be up 45, right? Like the bar is just so ridiculously high. God, it's like,
It is so high. And you know what? I want to shout out Lisa Stanfield, 7930, for just reminding me. You are absolutely right. Michigan did get closer to beating UConn. And the reason why that Tennessee game just stands out in my mind is because literally Tennessee started strong. And UConn does have a tendency of, like, they can get a little bit comfortable in the first half and then realize, oh, wait, we're UConn.
They get that. Yeah.
And so the fact that Tennessee got out early on UConn makes you think like, oh, that's what you want to do. But it was Michigan that actually fought back in that second half. I think they got back to it was like a 15, 17 point rally. You know who could probably remember this a little bit better than I can, Leja? Our resident expert, Sabreena Merchant. Yeah, Sabreena Merchant, come back onto the show. Sabreena,
hi, friends.
Hello. Remind me of that Michigan UConn game. How did Michigan get back in that game against UConn when they lost? It was 72. They ended up losing 69-72 to UConn, but it was a close one at the end.
Yeah, I think what you guys are talking about, like speeding up UConn, getting them to turn the ball over, full court pressure is like one of the only things we've seen all season that really has any chance of just disrupting what UConn's going to do. If you try to sit back and guard them in the half court, they don't get disrupted. Like you have to try to disrupt them for the entire 94 feet. And then you just have like an incredible perimeter shot maker in Silas Swords who got on a bit of a heater. And like sometimes when you have a player who takes shots that the defense wants you to take, like that's the only way I can think of UConn really getting in trouble, because like I'm sure their coaching staff had no problem with like what Michigan was doing offensively. It didn't look entirely pretty. It just happened that, Sila's making these shots. And like at a certain point you stop getting her the ball. But I think individual heater that, just full court disruption, trying to get them to turn the ball over, because I think UConn's offense is just too good in the half court to let them, get there. You have to stop them from
They're
getting
so
there, which
patient.
is why I think like Texas seems like the team that would be best suited, to get in their space, because they have that full court defense that like UCLA doesn't play that way. South Carolina doesn't really play that way. South Carolina can dial it up sometimes, but it's not their bread and butter. Whereas like Texas starts in that defense, right? I think there was that stat that Texas has forced 28 like 5-second violations just inbounding the ball this season, which is 13 more than any team in the NCAA. So like that's how early they start defending you, right?
Yes, no, Vic Schaefer, you come out of the locker room and you're playing Texas.
You're defending the security guards on the way to the court. Okay?
I still have nightmares about being a cow when Sidney Carter and Colson and he was at Texas A&M and we played them, and I was like, oh, like you get by one defender and it's just a wall. Like it's suffocating.
Okay. So Sabreena, we got you on. I'm telling you, you got a fan club in here, girl. Okay.
Yes.
The people were clamoring for Sabreena. So we are so happy we got you here. Agreed. Ty ZV5WE, the GOAT of women's basketball podcast. Agreed. We got the GOAT right here. Sabrina's here to tell us a little bit more about what she thinks around this bracket. So what were your first impressions when you saw everything go out?
Let's see. I'm trying to make this not as nerdy as possible, but I really thought it was a bad year for the mid-majors. Like I look at just all of the teams that got in, like lower seeded teams in like the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, who made their way in. And meanwhile, there's one mid-major conference that got two teams in, the Atlantic 10, which got Rhode Island and Richmond. You didn't see any of like the two Ivy League. We had, I think, 3 bid Ivy a couple years ago. There was 3 teams from the Atlantic 10 last year. Sometimes you see like a South Dakota State get in as an automatic like a at large, if like there's an automatic qualifier from their conference. And like none of the mid-major conferences had like an exceptional year either. I think the only one to like exceed the 11 line was Princeton. Like you look at Gonzaga, who's usually a lot better. Fairfield, I don't think was quite as good this year as they were last year. So it's just like, I'm looking at the bottom and like, there's a play-in game on the 10 line because there's so many automatic qualifiers are just below them. Like they didn't have enough to like actually move the play-in game back down to the 11 line where it usually is. So that was just one thing that stood out. Like this is just a lot of the same conferences. And so we're going to get matchups that I think we've seen before, just because at a certain point, like the SEC teams are going to meet up with other SEC teams and like Big Ten teams are going to meet up with other Big Ten teams. So I can't necessarily say that I think like the committee did a bad job not including like North Dakota State or, I don't know, Columbia or Quinnipiac or whatever, but like, it just didn't feel like Sorry. It just didn't feel like a great year for the mid-majors. And as someone who enjoys like the surprises of March and like getting to see schools you're not familiar with seeing on a regular basis, like it's kind of a bummer. But again, I don't think that like any team that was deserving of getting in necessarily found its way on the outside.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we have someone in the chat saying Game Griot. Game Griot is really what it is. So sad my George Mason girlies didn't make it in. They had another really good season. Agreed. It does feel like there's, in some ways, the committee loved the same old storylines, or kind of like, dredging up the storylines that we've been seeing build over the course of the few years. Of all of these, I have a question. What do you think could potentially be the messiest of matchups?
Oh, see, this is the problem. We didn't get the messy matchups. We didn't get TCU versus Notre Dame in the second round. Like, where is that? TCU's a 3, Notre Dame is a 6. How are they not in the same region? I don't understand.
I know.
Who is denying us of Olivia Miles versus Hannah Hidalgo? Like, that is all I wanted to see coming into this tournament.
Facts. I do like the fact that Maryland, no, even that we don't get. Never mind. I was going to say, like, trying to get some of these
Ohio State versus Ole Miss, which I understand Ohio State played its way into the 3 line. You can't have a 3 versus 5. It would have been 4-5. So like I'll give that one. But when I saw Notre Dame showing up against Ohio State, I think I like just zoned out for the next 5 minutes, because that's the committee loves mess. We've had Haley Van Lith in the Louisville bracket for the last 2 years.
I thought Vanderbilt,
they made it happen twice, and we couldn't get Olivia versus Hannah.
Right. Now you
Olivia versus Hannah would have been probably
would have fed families. Come on.
Yeah. Fed families is exactly right. Okay, so there's a lot of great questions in the chat, so I want to go ahead and just like go towards some of these. But I have questions I'm supposed to ask you.
Sorry. I'll talk about the actual things.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Which region do you think has the most depth? Has the most potential for upsets?
You want to go first, Leisure, or you want me to take this one?
No, this is you. The people have been waiting.
Got it. People have been waiting. I think the Sacramento regions are both very deep. South Carolina's and UCLA's are both pretty deep. I think, I mean, stop me for sounding like a homer, but I think Duke is the best 3 seed, and they're in UCLA's region. Although, like, I assumed Vanderbilt was going to end up with UCLA, so for them to get LSU, I think is kind of a win. I don't know. I don't know that there's not like a marked difference between Vanderbilt and LSU. And then South Carolina, like,
you don't think there's a marked difference in terms of tournament experience?
Well, I do, but I just think Vanderbilt was like significantly better than LSU during the regular season. So.
Yeah, but in a big moment of one game, that's where
I know LSU shines on the big stage.
Yeah,
we say that, and yet when have they won the big games other than 2023?
You know what?
They make them the branding. Yeah. They always good.
We do have a little bit of recency bias in a way, where we're just always like LSU, big moments, they show up. But you're right, it's been a while.
They show up and then they don't win. Like every game against South Carolina is a good game. I'll give you that. It's a really good game, and then they don't win.
They're like gamers. They're like, I don't know, it don't matter. You never know.
Yeah.
Catch me on the right day. It's the right day.
Let's keep it going. Sorry, I think we cut you off, but regional depth, you think Sacramento, both sides of Sacramento. Do you think that South Carolina has the easiest path?
No, I think there's more depth on those sides. I think Texas has the easiest path.
I agree.
Okay. Me and Eden.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought Michigan was going to fall off of the 2 line because of how badly they lost to Iowa in the Big Ten tournament. They stayed at number 2. I don't think Louisville is the strongest of the 3 seeds. And you know, like it's a good group of teams, but like if I'm Texas, I'm not scared of West Virginia's press. Like I see that in practice every day. You know, I'm not scared of that.
That is us, exactly.
They've done very well against Kentucky and Alabama during the regular season, right? Like, I mean, this is the nicest possible. You know, like NC State, fine. You know,
hey, trust me, I feel the same.
They're not doing anything to Texas.
I feel the same. Agreed. I'm with you. Go Pack.
Like, I look at this run, I'm like, I would be stunned if the Longhorns did not make it to Phoenix. Like
that's exactly how I felt.
I mean, I'm not going to say that like UConn's not going to make it either, but like the draw is really nice for Texas this year, especially because they're going to be playing in Fort Worth, right?
Who's the hardest road then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's UCLA or South Carolina. I kind of think it's UCLA. But
do we
I
like
could
this
be
potential?
convinced that it's South Carolina is the hardest. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're all on the same page that we think that. Oh, you think South Carolina is the hardest?
Yeah, I mean, Iowa's really good team.
Okay. This is interesting.
TCU's
Our
good team,
chat,
you know?
our chat was saying that South Carolina may have the easiest road to the Final
Interesting.
Four. Yeah, right. And I was like, okay. I love the different basketball minds see it differently all around. What are we thinking about some of the potential rematches from during the season? Of course, to me, that South Carolina, Oklahoma meeting up in the Elite Eight could be really, really interesting. What stands out to you in terms of potential rematches from the year?
Duke LSU stands out to me because when we saw Duke play them the first time in the ACC SEC Challenge, they were still in that rough 3-6 start to the season. And I think they're just dramatically different than they were then, even though they did lose that game. So, I think they deserve to be below LSU on the seed line because of that head-to-head loss. But I'm not necessarily sure that Duke is worse than LSU at this point. And I think that could be a really fun game.
That was a fun game. Just them. Duke was up and down the floor in
they
that
were
game.
Up big early.
They were up big early.
All the way.
Collapsed. So I'm imagining that's going to be a good rematch there. Trying to think of Leja, any rematches that you're excited to look at throughout this year or to revisit? I mean, I think the person that wants a rematch the most is Iowa. They just want to get to the championship and be like, listen, UCLA, give us one more chance. Give us one more opportunity. We're looking.
You got to get through South Carolina and UConn to get there. So
you got to go through a lot.
Yeah, I'm curious about the Vanderbilt UConn potential, just from a Shea Ralph knowing Gino, like in terms of coaching, high level experience, like being inside of his system for so many years. Like, I don't know if there's an upset there or not, but that's just an interesting storyline, I think. And like,
totally,
not many people just coach at that high of a level. Like, there are other coaches, but that is like like, does she have can she get in his head? Like, is there some secret sauce? We talked about knocking UConn off kilter. Like, I wonder if she gives him a little pregame, like that. I know, when you're that intimately in a coaching situation with someone, like, the things that make them tick, right? Like, you're the one who was their right-hand person. So I think about all the psychological games within the game that you play. And like, is there, that stuff happens between coaches too. They don't talk about that, but they be doing a little handshake. They have their moments. Like, so I'm like low key peeping that one too. Like,
okay.
For that matchup, the coaching matchup.
The coaching matchup. I think that's a really great point. Whenever we're talking about the tournament in general, of course, we talk about matchups, we talk about the teams. The battles between the coaches are really interesting. The battles between the players, of course, we talked about Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, just being some of it. Like, there's also opportunities for players to write their names in the stars, like just become these massive storylines just from the way that they play. We know Michaela Blake can put up some numbers. We know Sarah Strong that's really where we didn't get introduced to Sarah Strong in the moment. Like, but that's when I think watching her in the Final Four and the championship game, we were like, oh, she's going pro. And she can go pro tomorrow if she would like. But I'm just thinking of players that are going to probably have amazing tournaments and have the opportunity to like put the teams on their back type of thing. Cody McMahon is one that definitely stands out to me. Feels like she has a chip on her shoulder a little bit for Ole Miss and wanting to prove that. But what are some of the players, or who are some of the players that you think may have a phenomenal tournament or we should be watching?
I mean, that's the fun thing about this is that they sort of surprise you, right? Like, obviously, Sarah Strong, I don't think it's a huge shock that she had an excellent tournament, but like Sarah Ashley Barker having that big game, for Alabama last year. I don't think that was on a lot of people's radar. Yeah. And then I think that turned her into a first round pick in the WNBA draft. Like, those things.
It got her to the league. Agreed.
Yeah, got her to the league, right? I think, I'm looking at that South Carolina region again, and like, Oklahoma's been on national TV a lot, but I think this is a good time, for Aaliyah Chavez to be like reintroduced, right? To if they can have a good game against Idaho, and then like that Michigan State, Colorado State game. Kennedy Blair has been super fun to watch this season. If she could pop off for Michigan State. Let's see, who else do I like? And
Kennedy Blair's just a sophomore, isn't she?
Only a sophomore. That's right. Yeah. Ooh. So somebody keep an eye on
exciting. I'm looking at. There's also some obvious names like Hannah Hidalgo. There's certain teams that will not advance if these players do not play well, right? And just they don't have the depth necessarily. And Hannah Hidalgo as a name overall, but particularly just like what she's going to do to try and will her team to win, I think is another one that is really, really interesting. Okay, want to keep going. Speaking of the bracket of depth, right? We've seen these type of things in the World Cup coming up, actually. There's different groups of depth and things of that sort. Bracket of depth. Actually, this could be depth because depth, it does. If you have depth, you probably are in the bracket of death as well, because these are the teams that can just beat you with their starting five, their backup five, their whatever you want. Sections that we think are actually the worst or the hardest to get through. You said South Carolina. Leja, we didn't necessarily talk about hardest, though, for you. Which one do you think is the hardest one and why?
For me, the hardest bracket to get through?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Sacramento. Is that 1 or 2? The UCLA bracket.
Yeah.
Sacramento.
I think that's 2.
The numbering is going to get confusing. I think it's Fort Worth 1, Sacramento 2, Fort Worth 3, Sacramento 4.
Yeah. I don't like it. Okay. We can tell the committee that. I think it's the UCLA bracket because I think Duke being that
Ole Miss has a 5 is tough too.
Yeah, so we haven't even talked about Ole Miss, right?
Yeah.
Gonzaga. I don't know how. I mean, that 5. Lisa Fortier, like Gonzaga's doing some things, but I don't know that they'll get through. But I think just when you look at those big name teams, and particularly how well like Duke has played later in the season, like they have covered them in the ACC, and like they were that team last year. It's like you could see their youth on display of like, oh, they got there and they just kind of fell apart in big moments. And now starting the season the way they started, they've been challenged, right? They know what it feels like to be a shitty team to start the year. And also like they were, they had a tough schedule. So it's like they've been really tested this season. No, the ACC wasn't quite as good as SEC this year, right? But it was down a bit. But I still think for me, Duke is like that team where I'm like, if I'm UCLA, I'm like, damn, how did I not get the number 1 overall? And how did I end up with Duke and LSU in my bracket? Yes, LSU, Sabreena doesn't always show up in the moments, but they still have that potential star power.
Yeah. I mean, there's only like, 4 coaches in this tournament who have won a national title. I think it's Kim, Dawn Staley, Brenda Fries, and Gino, right? So one of them is in UCLA's bracket.
Yeah, okay, well, that's the depth to me.
I'm happy you brought up Brenda Fries. Let's talk over Fort Worth 1, because thinking of like bracket of depths, it feels like when you're evaluating that, you can look at that number 1 seed, but you're looking at the talent underneath and the teams underneath. Whereas in Fort Worth 1, it's kind of like you look at UConn and you don't really give as much credit to anyone else because you're just like, who's going to beat UConn? What's it going to take to beat UConn? And I feel like there's going to be so many amazing. I think if there's a team that's not necessarily the bracket of death, but there's a bracket of stress, this team is going to give me stress. This bracket is going to give me stress. I'm looking at potential Maryland UNC in a second round matchup. I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Jelani Cambridge against Hannah Hidalgo. Like, I feel like that's going to be crazy. I don't know. Like, even if Vanderbilt ends up going up against Ohio State, which we've seen that. I feel like Iowa State too. They've been up and down. They had injuries throughout the year that also impacted their ability to show up in places, but I feel so bad that they could possibly be done in like
they could lose in the first round, honestly.
They could lose they could literally lose in the first round as well. So, but I feel like this is the bracket that's going to give us the most overtimes. It's going to be the one that we're going to be staying up for.
Like every matchup is going to be.
Yeah, I just feel like every single bracket is going to be crazy. By the way, Haley Fry 7108 is doing the people's work. Shout out to Michael B. Jordan winning Best Actor in Sinners. Okay, thank you for that, Haley Fry. That is amazing. I will be watching that back. I just heard of the performance. Like they did the song, the dance scene from Sinners. So I just saw just like a clip bit of that. And Missy Franklin closed it out. Woo!
Missy Copeland. You're thinking of the swimmer,
Missy
right?
Copeland. Yes, I just literally thought swimmer. Sorry.
That'd be cool.
Missy Copeland. Wouldn't that be crazy?
I love Missy Franklin.
If she came out and started twirling, that would be insane. No, Missy Copeland. Thank you.
I think another Cal legend, right, Leja?
I was like, yeah. She was like, yo, I'm in there.
We're just shouting up the bay right now. It's all good. Okay, let's keep it going. I think Chantel will be joining us very soon, guys. So, folks in the comment that were asking earlier, we're very excited to get our fourth person onto the pod. Where? Oh, I'm jumping ahead. Guys, I got questions. I want to make sure that we're getting to all of these here. First and foremost, it is important that you all know that you can get to our website and get the bracket and print it out and ensure that you've got your bracket nicely folded out. I actually like writing. I think it's helpful for the memory and the training of the mind. So make sure you get that. We're going to be getting our interactive bracket up later this week. So make sure you guys do that. You can print that out. And let's see if I've got any other announcements here. We're going to link both of those in the show notes, and we'll keep you guys posted during the tournament on how our brackets are fared, because we are all filling out brackets as well. So you let us know when we put our brackets up and we start talking about our brackets. Keep us posted in the DMs and the comments, all the above. How do you think we, decided on things already? Sabreena and I are thinking that Texas might have the easier route. Some of you guys think South Carolina might have the easiest route. We're looking at UCLA's bracket as probably being the toughest one. And UConn, I'm thinking UConn's bracket is going to have the most amount of stressor games outside of whoever is playing UConn. So that's where we're going to land on that. I think we might have 2 minutes left for Chantel. So let's take some questions from the chat really quickly. And I want to scroll back up because there's quite a few that have been about surprises and snubs, etc. But I like this one from April Love for You, who said, do you think all the number 1 seeds will make it to the Elite 8? And Sabreena, I asked that question I don't ask that question. April, I love for you asked that question. Do we think that number 1 seeds will make it to the Elite 8? I like this question because of what you said when you first started, of what surprised you or what stood out to you when you looked at the bracket and you were like, man, this was kind of a bummer in terms of potential teams that could upset you or surprise you or, being upset for the field overall. Do we think it's a nice slot? All the number 1 seeds just getting to the Elite 8.
Right. So if we look at UConn, I think we're pretty in alignment. They're going to make it to the Elite 8. You got to get through Maryland, Carolina. I feel pretty confident they can do that. I think UCLA will probably have a time with Ole Miss. That's a Sweet 16 matchup from last year too, that Ole Miss just didn't have enough offensive firepower a season ago, and they obviously have Cody McMahon this year. UCLA, though, has a lot more offense firepower than they did last year with Charlie Sledger-Walker and Gianna Neepkin. So, I mean, I would be pretty surprised if the number 1 seeds did not make it to the Final Four. We have seen, like you said, South Carolina lose to Oklahoma this season. South Carolina doesn't really lose 2 games in a row. Like, I don't think they've actually lost 2 games in a row since like the pandemic. But this isn't 2 games in a row, but it is 2 games to the same opponent, which kind of feels like the same spirit of the rule. So I don't see that happening again. I would be pretty shocked if the number 1 seeds did not make the Elite 8. I think I'm going to just pencil that in right now, before I fill in everything else beyond that.
If you had one number 1 seed to get upset, who would it be? Like making it to the Final Four, road to the Final Four. One of them doesn't get there.
One of them doesn't get to the Elite 8 or the Final Four?
Who has the potential to be upset out of all 4?
Gotcha. I'd say probably UCLA, just because of the depth of that region versus the other ones.
Yeah.
I want to
I loved watching South Carolina and Iowa, those 2 years in a row that they played in the tournament. But the reason that Iowa was so successful in those games is because they had that up-tempo offense that South Carolina wasn't used to seeing in the SEC. And now they're like much more of a defensive team, which I don't think matches up quite as well with what South Carolina is trying to do. As much fun as it would be to see that again, I think it would kind of end the same way that every other South Carolina, or no, not every other. Iowa did beat them in the Final Four. So
that's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do we think though the size that South Carolina has now added to their roster will completely change the matchup with Iowa? I mean, we know Ava Hayden, I always do that. Ava Hayden and Hannah Sulky, like they're athletic, they're big, they're physical down low, but we know how strong South Carolina is as a big team in general with Okot, Tony Bizet, Joyce Edwards. Like they've got bodies on bodies on bodies.
Yeah, I think I feel better about like a really good offensive team matching up against, the likes of South Carolina, other than a really good defensive team, which is what Iowa has turned into this year. Because, we've seen it against UCLA. Like the bully ball thing doesn't work against a team that has Medina Okad or Lauren Betts, right? Like it's just more of a challenge. So there's a good point in the chat though. South Carolina did lose to UConn twice last year, so they could lose to a same team twice. I feel like UConn is like the exception to every rule though.
I agree. I'm with that. Yeah. There was a comment in the chat here. I must have lost it, but Duke being the potential Cinderella team. And let's just be real, we are changing the definition of Cinderella, okay? Because Cinderella is supposed to be some sort of like low-seeded team.
They said as a higher seed. They did acknowledge that.
Yeah, they did acknowledge that, exactly. But like Duke being a quote-unquote like higher-seeded Cinderella, this is just a fascinating situation to think about where they were at the beginning of the season. And like now people being like, they could really do some things and disrupt some things. Just how solidly they're playing. Did you see this all along, Sabreena?
No, I think I was pretty low on Duke when they were just, losing to West Virginia with 5 players and getting their doors blown out at South Florida.
Oh my God, that game was crazy. Guys, this is like
Florida's not even in the tournament field, and they like crushed Duke. So it was real bad. The lineup has changed. I think Riley Nelson entering the starting 5 has been a big shift for them. Delaney Thomas really coming into her own. Taina Mayer is having the best season of her career. Didn't really see that coming for her. So, I mean, I'm willing to adjust Cinderella for the women's tournament because like anybody lower than a 3 seed has never won the tournament. It's not like on the men's side. So I guess we should just like maybe move it down to like the 4 line. So Duke can't quite be a Cinderella, but we'll allow it.
Okay. All right, guys. Wait, before you ask this question, I got somebody coming to join us, and the full crew is going to be here. Chantel Jennings, come on in, guys. Friend. Did you get your homework done? You get your homework done? Yes. Yes.
Guys.
We're here, folks. We got the whole crew here. And before we get into it, Chantel, initial thoughts on the whole bracket.
It just feels so chalky, right?
Oh my gosh, that's what Sabreena was saying.
It really does, which is like such a bummer. Such a bummer. But it does, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, like I have 1 3 seed in my Elite 8 and that's it.
Wait, who's is it?
Duke.
Well, oh my God, we just said that. Okay, yeah, we just
Cinderella.
Yeah.
But you never know.
So
You never know. We could have been surprised.
That spunky little group out of the ACC that won the regular season and the conference tournament title. That Cinderella story. Everyone loves it.
Had a 17-game winning streak during the regular season.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing. These are the things. Okay, I had for all of you listening, I had every intention to be like, what's going to be your boldest upset? Who are you picking to do? Just like the most dramatic of questions. But it does feel like this isn't the year for that. I'm still going to ask the question though. What are you, as you build out your bracket, Chantel, I'll let you start. Sabreena, I'll let you follow. I have not filled out my bracket just yet. Sabreena, have you? No, not yet. Okay. Leja?
No, I've been here with you.
Oh, yeah. This is perfect. We are literally.
What do you think Leja's doing for the last hour?
Hanging out with me. You never know. Some people can multitask. I am incapable. So let's just be real. I just wanted to make sure that I just wanted to check in and see if everybody had filled out their brackets. But this is great. Chantel, we're just going to cheat off your paper. No, I'm joking. Chantel, what do you think as you're filling out your bracket? What were you most unsure about? Let's start there.
I definitely have one. And I actually called Sabreena about it as I was doing it. Because I was like, can you please inform me exactly how insane this is? And I wish you guys can sort of see. I don't know if you can. There's here, it's like a bunch of
it's scratch marks. Yes.
Oh, is that you can see? Who is that?
Okay.
Notre Dame and Fairfield. So first I go, Notre Dame. And I was like, I got to do something. Notre Dame I picked last year. I forget. Did I pick them to go to the Final Four? They burned me. I remember that.
I think we both did that. I think we both did that.
Cross them out. I'm like, Fairfield. I like a good mid-major team every year to do something good. Richmond made the field again this year, but I don't think it's their year. Sweet 16 feels a little bit dicey, but I'm also like Ohio State at home. They like to lose in the second round when they host. So if I'm going to pick a team to do this, I'm going to go with Fairfield. So I literally went Notre Dame and then crossed it out Fairfield, called Sabreena. And she's like, well, I'm not picking that. And I crossed out Fairfield and I wrote Notre Dame again.
I mean, it is fair to say Fairfield is 0-7 in NCAA tournament games. They have not won just yet. However, I love the fact that you entertain this idea. What is, like, as you look through your bracket, what would give you the inkling to have someone tip over the edge? Is it offense? Is it defense? Because I remember asking you a very specific question, like a question like this last year, and I think it was you and then Ben Pickman, formerly on our show, shout out to our boy Ben, also mentioned free throws and free throw percentage being really important. Like someone that can, at the end of the game, be able to hit those shots. And we already mentioned what Sarah Ashley Barker did for Maryland. Not only did those free throws help advance her team, it leagued her. It got her to the league. You know what I mean? So I just feel like, wait.
Bama.
Thank you. I just feel like there's something to be said about free throws. So I just wanted to know, what were you looking at as you were making your decisions? What can maybe just push one team over the edge that you aren't expecting?
Well, the Fairfield thing, I try to make one pick every year. Again, the women's tournament tends to be chalkier than the men's, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I always try to make one pick that just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And so, and one of those things where I'm like, oh, this could, that'll be the pick that people, if I were still on social media, they would message me and be like, you're an expert. You get paid to write about women's college basketball and you did this. Like, I do that at least one time and probably one. And then I like lose sleep over it because I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? So the Fairfield one is more of like we've seen Notre Dame have highs and low lows this season. They hit 11 threes a game, which I like. Trading threes for twos, you can do it. Notre Dame obviously has some good shooters. They have one named Tana Hidalgo. So I'm aware of all of these things, but I think it's also the inconsistency there, even if Notre Dame has sort of been on an upswing toward the end of the season. And again, Ohio State has lost the last 2 seasons at home. They're the only team to do that the last 2 years. And so I'm just sort of feeling like, if I'm going to do it somewhere, I'm going to do it there. I'd say the other move, and same thing, we talked about it on this podcast a lot, veteran guard play. I think in the tournament, it's just so important. Fairfield has a junior guard, Larsono, like leading scorer. I just feel like those are things you can get behind. And these are the things where you're like looking for reasons to make yourself feel good about it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I just gut checked myself. I picked Tennessee over NC State and then sent my bracket in and was like, holy shit, why did I do that? And like reached out to my editor, was like, can I change this? And she was like, just published it. And I was like, cool. Just wrote that they're 2-10 in the last 12 games. What was I thinking?
I mean, Tennessee only lost to NC State by 3 at the start of the season. It was a very close game.
Yeah, season opener.
And I'll say this, though. That season opener game had me thinking NC State was going to be something this season. It was quite underwhelming. How much
you love NC State.
I know. I'm a little bit of a homer in that way. But yeah, I was like, Camille Pierre, sign me up. Like I am locked.
Well, that hasn't stopped all year. Don't worry.
That hasn't. Also, a new announcement not related to basketball, but thank you, Elena Axon. Best Picture: One Battle After Another, which is a great title for Selection Sunday. Yes, Elena. What? Sign up to be on our marketing team because that is elite. That is elite. I love that.
I feel like you guys brought up a good point about free throw percentage, which makes me kind of question our picking Duke to be like our quote Cinderella team.
Great point. Yeah.
Steele and Toby Fournier's not the best free throw shooter still. She gets there quite a bit, but that in the moment they have some really good veteran guard play, but in the big moments when you need to make free throws, them and UNC also. UNC's improved throughout the year in the free throw percentage, but still it's like
That could be a very nervy finish if we get Duke LSU in the Sweet 16, because we've seen both those teams struggle with free throws down the stretch of games.
Who's going to box out and get the rebound because who's going to miss?
There will be rebounds to be had.
So actually, who's the best rebounding team?
Yeah. That's the right thing to look at. And you know what? LSU will probably find a way. I don't know. That is actually, this is LSU and Duke is so interesting. They're both transition capable teams. They're both teams that can put the ball up and score really well. It's just I don't know what's going to happen. This is why it's March Madness. This is crazy. Okay, Sabreena, I'm going to turn to you really quickly. You haven't filled out your bracket just yet, but as you are looking at the bracket and you're thinking about maybe trying to do something that isn't so chalky, what would be your boldest pick? Who should we be looking at to be a little bit out of the box?
This is a great question. I brought this up last week. I really like South Dakota State. I love Brooklyn Meyer. Just such a fun player to watch. I don't know that Washington necessarily has somebody like size to guard her with. They've got Yulia Graviskaya, who's I'm not necessarily sure she has the lateral mobility to stick with Brooklyn Meyer. Their freshman has come along quite well of late, Bryn McGoey. But that could be a fun little upset pick there. If Jack Rabbits have been in the tournament the last 4 years, Washington's still fairly young. So if the threes aren't quite falling for the Huskies.
A 6-11 upset?
I like a 6-11, yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say that?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Leisha. I just want to say that what I love is that I'm on this podcast with an 11-year WNBA vet, a college basketball player, and Sabreena, who watches so much basketball. She has forgotten more about basketball than I will ever know. And anytime you guys say something that I believe, I'm like, God, I'm so smart. I'm good at my job. I'm so glad I picked South Dakota State over Washington in the first round. Leisha, you're up.
You did pick that?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about myself now.
Your tea. You've been holding out on some.
Yeah.
I know. That's a good upset.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I got that one. But
Eden, so we actually talked about this a little bit with Eden. I told Eden that I got put on to South Dakota State as a team to look out for because of Sabreena. And so I do feel like that's a possible really good option there. But Chantel, are you holding out on any other upsets that you're looking at right now?
Well, I feel like Leisha should answer that question first, and then you can come back to me. I'm looking at my bracket currently on my 1970s clipboard. And then
I was going to say, it looked like you had a cutting board and just put the paper
I literally thought that. I thought it was a cutting board. I'm not even joking.
No.
And I was like, you know what?
It's a very pretty clipboard. I'll tell you that.
And on that note, it is perfect timing to bring up T-Mac, the number one comment. As a parent of a young one, I appreciate Chantel being able to make it despite potential sleeping difficulties. Yes, you did that, and finding a cutting board to fill out her bracket. It's a clipboard. All right, sorry. Keep going. Leisha, who are you looking at to potentially be a big time upset, or just think outside of the box?
I'm not afraid to have a wild bracket because I feel like I get paid to have an opinion. I don't get paid quite to be, as much. I'm an expert. I do my things, but I mostly covered the ACC this year. So I'm very biased just in terms of my knowledge of them. That's who I worked mostly. And I worked a ton of these tiny, I worked the MAC conference or the WAC conference, which I love. I don't think Cal Baptist is going to beat UCLA, but I just worked them. And I loved watching Felipa Barros play. She's a really solid Portuguese point guard, almost had a triple-double. She leads her team in rebounds. So I have the ACC and then these really random small schools. I did Ohio, Miami, and they were really fun to work. Obviously, I don't think they're going to upset and that same kind of parity. But so I really more of my expertise and knowledge, which I don't like to speak on things I don't know, right? So some of my random upsets are going to be me being a fan and just being that'll be fine. Y'all think it's chalky? I'm just going to throw it out there. Let's see what happens. Okay. So I don't think on the men's side, the 5-12 is such an exciting matchup. And I think that's when I wish I just worked a Gonzaga game in the WCC and they ended up winning the tournament. And I want to pick them over Ole Miss. Will I actually in my bracket? No, I can't in good faith. But I think I'm picking more of the higher Cinderella seeds. I'm kind of picking Texas to get upset. They're not going to the Final Four for me. They're out.
Where are you picking them?
Chantel is also not having Texas.
I'm also
Hold
not
up.
having them in the Final Four.
Guys, you
Louisville
guys are
is
holding out.
Yes.
Okay, break it
I
down
got
for us.
This sounds
what
like
do you
somebody who had to play against Jeff Waltz in college. I gotta tell you.
No, that's actually Vic Schaefer for me.
Okay.
I know. And I like Texas, and I love Sydney Carter. Like, we were teammates, so it's like nothing against Texas. I think they're great, but just because I watched the ACC a ton this year, and Jeff Walz did feed us to go to I gave him crap about that this year, to go to the Final Four and eventually lose to Stewie. Everyone lost to Stewie, so it doesn't matter. We're all losers.
Everyone lost to Stewie is great.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I never lost to Stewie.
It's like the title of her biography, right? Everyone lost to Stewie.
Yeah, so that's kind of my random upset. Is like I don't have it being the exact Final Four as last year. Like, I think I'm holding out for the hope of like a shakeup. But I am holding out for the West, because like that's also something I feel like someone from the West. It's like, I hate that the Pac-12 got disbanded, because like we've lost Stanford's in their kind of rebuild, and we've lost like our big time talent out West. And so like for me, I was personally upset that UCLA I think has one of the toughest roads, because I'm like, damn, we already don't have a lot of great squads out West, and now we have a potential for them to not make it. And so that's me like thinking regionally too on the greater landscape of women's basketball, and big California bias, of course.
That's very real. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do y'all have Texas getting upset? Chantel and Sabreena?
Oh, I have Texas in my Final Four.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I haven't decided about them against UCLA yet, but we'll get there.
Okay. Chantel?
I picked Michigan over them, and it is not a homer pick.
Ooh. Girl, don't pull out your license. Don't pull out your license.
I know.
People are going to think it's a homer pick. Okay.
Everyone. So, I mean, it's like unavoidable with this sort of stuff. I just want to remind people that when I went to Michigan was bad at sports, like so bad at sports. And then I wrote for the paper. And so you really didn't become a sport. Like, my first game as a student was when Michigan football lost to App State. So that set the stage.
Whoa. Goodness. Okay.
And then Oregon the week after that.
You're not just, I mean, I'm not even just talking about you I'm talking more regionally.
Yes.
You trying to show up for Michigan here. But
so I'm just saying, I think, and I would be curious, again, Leisha, you were saying that your feelings on Vic is sort of the like, oh man, I can't imagine. Great coach. I just feel like they could get in a situation, and they've obviously gone through the SEC schedule, not hitting a ton of threes. They can find success, and they do have players that can hit them that we've seen. But I just feel like Michigan, even though they've had so many like 3-point losses to great teams so far this season. And I just, and that's the like, where all of you guys are like, yeah, that's why you don't pick them to go to the Final
Four. 3 of them for UCLA, Michigan, UCLA, Vanderbilt, and UConn.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
that's
crazy.
They've been there, and I'm thinking they're still sophomores. They're going to get over that hump. An extended March run could be that path.
And were all 3 of those comebacks?
Yeah.
I think they were all 3 comebacks too. Wow.
But like Silas Swords is just like lethal with some of those late game shots, like ice in her veins. So fun to watch. Olivia Olson, Minnesotan, I will add. Like
that's just a real homer for Chantel.
That's
all the
That's the real. I was
my
like, homerism is
in the first round as usual, and it's like, no, they're playing Minnesota. It can't happen.
No, it's not even the University of Minnesota. I just root for everyone who is from Minnesota. Although I didn't pick Richmond, and their coach is from Minnesota. So sorry, Aaron Russell. But I just root for everyone from Minnesota.
I have a few quick questions before we wrap up. And it's a really good question because these are the ones that are really close. These are the ones where you can get an upset. The 8-9 matchups in all the brackets. Iowa State and Syracuse and Fort Worth won. Thoughts on who's going to win that one? Drop your thoughts. Sabreena, what you think?
I like Syracuse over Iowa State. Their rookie is OJ. It's pretty awesome. And like, I think it's gonna be really fun to watch her against Audie. So I think Syracuse could upset, so to speak, 9 versus 8. You know,
I see Chantel looking over at her bracket. What do you thought?
I was trying to. I know. I'm like, shoot. Oh God. I picked Iowa State. I just feel like it
doesn't matter. They're going to lose to UConn. It's a one game thing.
Yeah, that's the one where it's like, okay.
You get to have some fun in those games, you know?
Yeah. Right. Okay, let's turn it over.
It's not going to bust your whole bracket.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get over to the other side. Oklahoma State, Princeton. Are my Ivy League girls going to be able to do it against OK State? Chantel?
I picked Princeton. I like Carla Berube. I think they're a team, and she's a coach who's been in the tournament before. They've been in this situation before. The Ivies got one team in the tournament this year, so I sort of feel like they will be carrying the conference on their shoulders a little bit. So I do like that level, that like extended level of motivation for them.
Okay. Let's go down to Virginia Tech, Oregon. Leja, any thoughts on them?
I'm going to go Virginia Tech. Yeah, I worked them versus Cal. I thought they were solid. I think. And I'm ACC biased, and I'll just be biased about that because I literally watch them the most, and that makes you biased. So I'm going with them, and I'm also going with Clemson over SC. Oh, no, California, but that kind of hurts my heart to not go for a California school.
Okay. It's actually the Oregon situation makes me think of a player that might have a breakout tournament or a breakout game. Katie Fiso at Oregon could have a really, really great performance. She's kind of a spark plug type of player. As well as a Tute over there at Oregon. Okay. Love a Tute. Yeah. So, okay, let's go ahead and talk about the thing that we've been circling around. And that is the final
title prediction?
Yeah. The title prediction, the Final Four and a title prediction. So, are we going ahead and just going and putting the number one seeds in the Final Four slots?
Well, we know Leja and Chantel are not.
No, they're not. So
I unfortunately am being real boring, and I got 4 number ones.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
They're really good teams.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I think I'm the same. And the only person that I probably would not have had that happen with is if Vanderbilt was in a different conference.
Exactly.
Or no, different bracket. Excuse me.
Different bracket, right?
Yeah. I feel that way. Okay, so with that all said, Leja, I'm gonna start with you. Who's in your final and who's winning?
Oh, shit. I say that because can we cuss on here? I say that because
we've done it several times.
Okay,
I feel like we're always somewhat of a kid's show, but that's okay. All right.
I mean, I think it's UCLA UConn. Yeah.
Okay. And
that was my own shit because I was like, And I hope it's a better matchup. I want it to be in we know UConn's really good, so that was my could Duke mess around? I love a storyline. I want the drama. I want the and that's no shade to UCLA or any of these onesies. I want to be sitting at home so upset because my bracket got busted or so excited because now I'm on the fan end of things and I'm oh my God, that's how fans feel. I'm so invested. Why am I so upset watching this game? But that's the spirit of being a fan, and now I really, really appreciate being on that side. So, but I think UConn, it's a perfect season. I think in my actual analyst hat, and when I look at the skill set of them, I'm even on an off night, how did they get beat? Because they're that good.
It's the observable component, Leja.
I know it is.
You in the committee.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to turn my attention to you, Chantel, since you decided to step up there on your own. Who is going to be in your Final Four and your Final Two?
So I have UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, and Michigan. Then I have UConn, UCLA in the title game, and UConn as the champs. I think... we've talked about it a lot on this pod in terms of how many top 10 teams are there. I think there are 2 teams that are head and shoulders above everyone else. I think that's UConn and UCLA. And I think it'll be a much better game than it was a year ago in the Final Four. But yeah, for all of us, all of our eyes, let's hope that. But I agree. I think UConn is just, Sarah Strong is incredible. I think Gino had said last week that, when you put the sum of their parts is just so much more than them as individual players. And I think if we had a one-on-one competition of UCLA's starting 5 or top 6 against UConn's top 6, I don't know what way it goes necessarily, but I think when you put the 5 of them on the floor together and you roll the ball out, I do think this one goes to UConn.
Okay. Sabreena, where are you at? You got the 4 number ones in?
I think I'd have UConn over Texas in my final for now.
Over Texas?
Hey.
Texas really just laid the smackdown on UCLA earlier this year, and I do think that ball pressure does some things. So,
well, they're not going to get there because Louisville's going to upset them.
Right, because Louisville or Michigan will upset them by that point. Yeah, UConn over Texas for now.
I think I am chalking in the number ones. And
this reminds me of when President Obama used to fill out his bracket, and like for the women's side, they would just like put the Sweet 16 in there for him. It was just like the last 3 games.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we're just gonna skip over the first 2 rounds. Ooh, this is tough because I don't like betting against Dawn Staley. I don't like, and I also really don't like betting against Raven Johnson as a leader, a veteran guard that we've been talking about as well. But UConn is UConn, baby. And
this is where we need Ben Pickman for the one UCLA pick every year.
I know, right? I know.
Our honorary pick.
I'm gonna go. UConn's gonna beat South Carolina, but it's gonna be close.
Ooh,
yeah, I think UConn's gonna be.
So that's Final Four.
Be UConn. Yeah, I also think it's gonna be UConn, Texas, and UConn wins it. Okay. Yeah, I think Texas
like over 55 points, or
what'd you say?
I said, does Texas score over 55 points in the final?
Ooh, it might be a 48-46.
Did no one watch them against South Carolina just now in the SEC tournament final? That was a good game.
They look dominant. They look like
Madison Booker hits every single jumper that she takes on the baseline. Every single one.
And they have depth.
It's so pretty.
Like they have so much depth. I think it's going to be UConn, Texas, and UConn's going to take it away. All righty, y'all. I see some folks dropping in the chat. I see an Jackson Carter 952 says LSU is going to come out the UCLA bracket, which is okay. All right. Another person, T-Mac number 1, T-Mac the number 1 has Michigan over Texas and the rest over number 1 seeds. I like this. Game Grill, you're on the same page with us. Sabreena and I think Huskies, Longhorns. We got a lot of thoughts around Texas, UConn potentially. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, well, let's make sure that you all know you can go to athletic.com right now, get your printable bracket, make sure you fill that out. We will be filling out our brackets and talking about this all through March Madness, so make sure you stay tuned. Let us know if we are crazy for our picks. How have we missed it? We will have a digital interactive bracket live soon on the site, so make sure you're staying along and keeping up with that, and make sure you're playing along with us. We definitely want to hear your thoughts as these games go on. Teams out there who are listening that are in the mid-majors, upset us, surprise us. This is your task. Make us look silly.
Fairfield, let's go.
Make her regret it.
We're talking to you.
Carly Tebow Dodonas, let's go.
Let us know. Just make us look silly. We want the drama. We want the upsets. That's all we want. And we want you all to keep listening to us. We appreciate you joining our Selection Sunday show, our live stream presented by Sam's Club. Shout out to them for helping us bring the game to you. Sabreena, Chantel, Leja, Eden as well. Appreciate you guys joining. On behalf of them and The Athletic, I'm Zena Kata. Thank you all for joining in today. Make sure you get those brackets, and we'll be back on Friday this week. That's right. Oh, is it going to be Friday? Hold on. Let me make sure I got this information right. Thursday.
Thursday. I was like, oh, we were
back. Right.
Guys, we record on Thursday.
That's right. We're going to be back on Thursday and Friday because Leja has joined our crew. Guys.
Hopefully we're talking CBA. Come on. Hopefully we got
CBA. Hopefully. Yes. Hopefully there's some updates on that. But both sides have been working very hard and staying up very late. Just like we are up too late, clearly, because I don't even know what we're doing this week.
We're on the West Coast, Zena.
Yeah. And listen, I've had a long week. Okay. I know it's true. It's only 8 p.m. over here. Let me close this out, y'all. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining. We had so much fun tonight. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's get to dancing in March, baby. Thanks for tuning in to No Off Season. To hear more, be sure to like and subscribe. We drop new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.